Aloha. Today I wanted to do a video. I should do a video that I wanted to do yesterday instead of referencing Eric DeBay, but I had to because in my opinion, it needed to be said because it relates directly to pretty much all of the other videos that I've put together that are founded from the perspective of the human story. And this is what a lot of the trolls don't really realize when they come and troll these videos. All of these political stories, all of these stories like the Hitler thing, this where I'm coming from in that is, like I said in the last video, nobody is really referencing the Western civilization as a whole. If you're caught up in the Zionist program and it's the Zionist versus Hitler, then you're not really addressing Western civilization as a whole and that cancer that has affected all of the Earth's people with a specific intent on the melanated people. And for people who don't, mainly the trolls who don't know about that, who won't do that research, they have to project onto an individual who even speaks on those realities. So you're a racist, another race baiting thing. So it's another, just like it's childish really, because there's information that exists. There's a definite focus that exists out there on the melanated people. Just because it's not televised, just because, other channels aren't talking about it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. All you have to do is do the research. There's entire communities that are focused on bringing this information to the surface. There's huge YouTube channels and followings that, and not even off of YouTube, teachers that have been speaking for decades about how this storyline exists. And if you continue to act like that story isn't important or doesn't exist, then that's your problem. It ain't got nothing to do with me or anybody else who brings that information up. So anytime you start talking about the Western civilization, the colonial program, Christopher Columbus, the intentions behind the villain of Hitler versus the villain of the Jews, to miss out on the bigger storyline of Western civilization as a whole. Anytime that stuff is just balled up into some racism label, then that ain't nothing but your problem. It ain't got nothing to do with me or anybody else who's speaking on these topics. And it's basically, like I said in the last video, it's the new distraction. It's like neo-distractionism. Just like, so the intention of how I'm seeing the intention of World War II in reference to Western civilization and colonialism as a whole, the expansion of the fiat currency system, the expansion of the illusionary the illusionary system that profits off of the military industrial complex. You have at least two mindsets that are focused, that make their money off of war and destruction. You have the in World War II, you had Hitler, and then you had Stalin and the British Empire, and meanwhile, the indigenous and the aboriginal people and the rest of the people across the world are looking at this so-called world war like, what the hell is going on here? Who are these people claiming to be of the world? No, you are of a particular mentality caught up within a limited understanding, and overstanding of the world. And you make your money off of death, war, and destruction, and the enslavement of everybody, with a particular focus on the melanated people. If you want to look at the prison industrial complex, look at how many people, the prison nation, the prison planet, United States locking up all the black and brown peoples. These are information. You don't have to do a lot of research to figure this stuff out. And if you have any kind of intelligence, you can see that, hey, maybe there might be some kind of intention here. Maybe there might be something that exists that says, you know, maybe they're doing this for some kind of reason. But no, you know, Hitler is a superhero, and we got to realize that he was fighting the system. He was fighting the Jews. That's one version of the story. That's one chapter in the bigger book of colonialism and Western civilization that people are not paying attention to. And what it really does is takes your power away and locks you into a powerless program that is based upon giving your power away to controllers, handlers, so-called powers that be, that make their money and claim humanity is based upon the military-industrial complex, war, destruction, and that whole limited-ass understanding of this reality. So if you ask me, Hitler was out there labeled to be the bad guy to, yes, hide the deeper bad guy program of the Jewish programming the Jewish program that's going on with the mainstream media and so on and so forth. But not only that, to add to the so-called powers that be system that is today. This grid is run by a very obvious mindset of people. Even if you just take all the race out of it, there's a particular mindset here that makes money off of destroying people. The mentalities of stuff like the white supremacy program, the colonial agenda, the Western civilization, the focus on technology, the focus on monkey evolution, the focus on NASA. All of this stuff is designed to lock you into either the emotional body, which is another shrunk down version of your maximum potential. It's like a compartmentalized faction of the human experience. It's not the whole human experience, but it is a very obvious portal, an energetic portal that people can tap into. Like, people can be controlled by their emotions. This is what the mainstream media is about. This is what Hollywood is about. This is what politics is about. It's a very powerful energy to manipulate people's emotions, to send their children to war, to go kill another soul, another child somewhere across the world that you haven't even you don't even know who they are or what the story is of why you're going over there to bomb and destroy entire villages and cities and nations. But like I said, that is a heavy addition, or a reason why people go and do that, is because their emotional body has been played, and at the same time they are of a lack of understanding, and overstanding of the truth of the bigger picture. Like, what's really going on here? Why does war exist in the first place? Why are we so separated from each other and nature that war and destruction is beneficial to this system? Who decided this? Like, when was this decided? If you accept that as your reality for the human experience, then you have bought into the limitation program of the animalistic, monkey evolution, Western civilization, colonial agenda, which is why I said, you know, this stuff goes beyond Hitler versus the Jews. I don't give a shit what you're talking about in reference to Hitler. That still all exists in Western civilization. And if you're not talking about Western civilization, Hitler, the Jews, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Illuminati, all of this stuff is a subcategory for Western civilization and colonialism as a whole. All of that stuff is even a subcategory of heliocentrism as a whole, when you come from the perspective of heliocentrism being a big part of the spiritual warfare, and especially the psychological warfare, and then adding up to the power grid of physical warfare of these people or entities having the power to send people to war and to go take over land. And then even further than that, you have people vesting all of their life and their energy and their focus into the fiat currency system. All of this goes into a chapter that is way deeper than the subcategories, the subchapters of people believing that Hitler is a superhero and the Jews are the only bad guys that you need to focus on. That is, it's questionable at best. So I have questions. I have questions for that. And like I said, it's not about all the lies that you've been revealing. It's also about what you are for. It's not what you're against always. It's about what you are for. What are you hoping to do with this world? Like, what are you hoping? Like in reference to the end game question that I was asking, what are you looking to accomplish in this reality in reference specifically to flat Earth? If you have revealed one of the biggest deceptions in this human experience, what are you going to do with that information? What are you looking to accomplish here? How is that going to, like, it's really just a motivation to challenge yourself to really think outside of the box that this heliocentrism program was designed to maintain. It's designed to maintain a boxed mentality to keep people trapped within. No different than politics, military-industrial complex, war as it's sold as freedom, war is peace, that whole mentality. It's the same thing. We're talking about land. You're talking about the human experience when you get down to it. And when you go that far, people like Hitler and the Jews, they're like little tiny little pawns on the board. And that's why I said in the last video, Eric is a very intelligent individual. And if he cannot at all entertain the possibility that the Zionist program is being utilized as a scapegoat program, then it just doesn't add up to me. And to add up even further, you don't have any more. There's not any kind of, with the intelligence that you have, there's not any kind of deeper perspective that you can come from than Hitler being amazing. That's where I got some more questions. And then you have people in the comment sections just, yo, you're a racist. Everything is about race, man. That's the biggest distraction that trolls and people who are protecting the Western civilization, the colonial program, that's their biggest distraction to put out there, is to label somebody as a racist and all this other stuff. And that's fine. People are going to do whatever it is that they do to share however they're feeling, or shit, to get paid. Some of them are paid. So, excuse me. To take it a step even further and to really kind of close this video out, because I don't have to really go too deep into it, because I've referenced it in previous videos, but this is just another version of it. And I just wanted to share how this system thrives off of the lack of information, the infighting, the half truths, the distractions. All of this is meant to lock in your focus, and your focus is your time. Your focus locking into a artificial focus is excuse me, literally the power of your consciousness. When you are in your waking state, your eyes, your senses, your reality is being generated by your focus, what it is that you invest your emotional body into, what it is that you invest your soul perspective, your higher mind, and your energetic work with your body, what you focus that into. All of these parts of our reality are being manipulated to channel that energy on a soul, mind, and body level into a parasitic design, a parasitic program that thrives off of war, that thrives off of destruction, that thrives off of the separation of humanity from nature, that thrives off of chaos, that thrives off of internal and external chaos. This is what the mainstream religions are designed to do, to amplify chaos in the individual so that the so-called powers that be make a profit off of the energy that is a side effect to people either defending themselves from chaos or fighting within chaos or attempting to avoid or act like that chaos doesn't exist. These are these chaos programs, this chaos alchemy that is being, it's within everything. So an example of this, an easy example is the religious talks. So we have like Christians, for example. You have the Bible. Excuse me. You have the Bible that has some really jacked up nonsense in there. And you take it even further to like the Catholic priests and the pedophilia stuff and all that other stuff. You have some very obvious connections with some dark things that exist that are going into that live in the realm of inhumanity. This shit is inhumane. This whole satanic pedophilia action, this dark magic that is happening, it is not a far stretch at all. In fact, it's very locked into, very close to the Bible, variations of the Bible, excuse me, variations of particular mainstream religions. So you have that exists out there. That is a very structured, formalized piece of existence that people are largely not paying attention to, or just saying, oh, well, that's that stuff, never really answering any questions. So it really exists like a cancer. It just sits out there. Now the other side is the positive stuff that comes from Christianity and mainstream religions. People who are so like lost and off in the deep end of self-destruction and outward destruction on other people, and then all of a sudden they find Jesus, or they find the word of God in the Bible, or they find the church, and it changes their lives, and they start reading all of the beautiful information that's in the Bible and in those religions, whatever it is. The thing that exists is you in the center, you, the observer, the experiencer in the center of that creation, because it was created. It was written by men. It was written by, and everybody says, this is the word of God. Men wrote that stuff on pieces of paper to have an effect on people hundreds of years down the line, even thousands of years down the line. So my question is, what are the obvious effects of something that backs up some of the darkest of the dark actions with some of the lightest of the light frequencies? What happens is chaos. Chaos is what happens in the middle of the experiencer when they are constantly never being able to do anything with the information that is put out there by some of the stuff that those Catholic priests do, some of the stuff that's in the Bible that talks about slavery being okay, and zeroing it into like particular groups of people and people who are left out of the Bible. Like all of these are questions that exist that you will never get an answer from the actual mainstream religion itself. You will get deflection, you will get distraction, you will get everything else that keeps you away from understanding what's going on. And you will get a focus on how wonderful everything is. So you, as the experiencer, the innocent individual who was just born, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, calling yourself a Christian and whatever else, you're born into this experience, and you just have to accept whatever it is that is being delivered to you. So what I'm saying is, what is a definite side effect to something like mainstream religions and the Bible and so on and so forth, the way it's designed is chaos. Ultimately, it's chaos. Same thing could be said for any of the other mainstream books that are out there in mainstream religions. Chaos is the outcome that is bankable when you have the extremes of the positive and the extremes of the negative being accepted by the mainstream populace as the best thing. And then you have the best thing of this group of people fighting the best thing of that group of people. Subconsciously, they are activating the worst of the worst to fight their worst of the worst. That's the chaos that comes from the intention of individuals who profit off of that chaos in the long run. The individuals who created that alchemy, the alchemy of the positive and the negative that is created to maintain chaos is an alchemy that was designed by people back in the day in order to maintain lost people who are just lost in the sauce of this whole program and get caught up in, well, I was raised this way, so I'm this type of person. And I was raised this way, so I'm this type of person. And if you're like that kind of person, then you're bad. You're wrong. In fact, you're going to hell. Something is wrong with you. If you don't think like this, that is chaos. That is what's going on with this whole mainstream religion program. The same thing is going on with heliocentrism. Heliocentrism is a mainstream religion that says and does the same thing. It creates chaos. If you don't believe in NASA and Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye and the preachers and the priests of that religion, then you're crazy and you're going to hell. And Bill Nye literally said they should be prosecuted in some kind of way if they don't think like this. Basically saying you should prosecute free thinkers, people who think outside of the mainstream paradigm, the control grid, the system that has added up to the prison population of today and the military-industrial complex of today, profiting off of the death of not only humanity but nature. So you have this program that will defend itself to the death, because if it's revealed for what it is, it will cease to be alive, because it literally lives through off of people not looking at what it's all about. Like I just said in reference to people not looking at the dark stuff that comes from the Bible and Christianity and so on and so forth. The same way people don't look at America #1, we're going to go give them some freedom. You don't look at what Syria looks like and feels like from boots on the ground. You don't look at what happened to Gaddafi. You don't look at what happened to Korea before it was split into North and South Korea. You don't look at what happened to Vietnam and the whole Gulf of Tonkin sort of stuff, and all the wars that have been generated by entities who make a profit off of overall the war as a whole. This is why I said it's so questionable to be getting caught up in this Hitler is amazing perspective, when you are intelligent enough to realize that war is the actual name of the book. Profit off of war is the name of the book. The Western civilization profiting and colonialism profiting off the death and destruction of not only humanity but nature as a whole is the title of the book. Hitler is just a chapter in there. The Zionists are just a chapter in there. And even beyond that, like if you want to focus just for the flat earth stuff, heliocentrism is a bigger chapter than all of this, because that actually formally separates you from your having any meaning or purpose in this reality, from having a soul, from being alive on a non-physical, like your non-physical skin, your non-physical body. That just gets completely thrown out of the realm, when you lock yourself into the heliocentric, atheistic, university perspective of reality, which is on purpose. My question is why? There's money. There's like non-physical money that exists, energetic money that exists. This is what I'm saying in this video in reference to the psychedelic technology that you are. These places that you tap into when you take DMT, when you go into an ayahuasca journey, when you take psilocybin on a mushroom trip, when you go into a deep meditation, when you reach these places that are largely non-physical, that's more of who and what you are than what your body is. Your body is still you, but it has a limitation. It's finite. It's not all-encompassing of the essence of who you are. You are the energy itself that allows this, that's having an experience within this body. This body is just the vessel that you've utilized this experience within this experience. The so-called powers that be are very aware of this energy and have made a life. They have made a living off of separating people from that reality in order for them to maintain their God and kingdom perspectives of themselves at the expense of everybody else. So by doing this, they have to separate you from your soul. You have to be separated from your mind, your higher mind. You have to be separated from your body, the balances of nature, the connections with people, the connections with your culture, the understanding, understanding, and overstanding of who and what you are, your blood, your everything that is a part of this experience. The basic observation of this experience needs to be watered down and filtered through a very shallow interpretation of reality, like the heliocentric model, dead planets and not knowing about, everything has to be flipped upside down and reversed in order for you to subconsciously and non-physically give that energy away by not using it, not tapping into it. So it's like non-physical dominance. It's non-physical parasitism. So to close it out, to give an example of how this program works, I was thinking the other day that you have, for an example, you have like Lyme disease, and you have ticks that carry this Lyme disease. So an individual can have a tick, the body of a tick latch on to your the physical body of a tick latch on to the physical body of you. And in that latching on, it is literally living off of your blood. It's living off of your life force energy. It's sucking the blood. It's parasiting off of your physical experience. In that transition of energy from you to that parasite, you have the possibility of contracting Lyme disease. Lyme disease can be, so the body to body that parasite living off your body can be seen as the enslavement of the physical reality. The enslavement of the mental, the higher psychological reality could be seen as the Lyme disease. The Lyme disease gets you sick. All of the side effects that come with Lyme disease, it just locks down your reality. You're not completely immobile, but you are basically you're done. You're sick. And if it goes even further, so that's your entire mind. Your entire mind, all of your energy in your body and your mind is focused on trying to not be sick anymore. You are diseased now. You have taken on a disease from the parasite, and the parasite is still living off of you. If it's never removed, it's still living off of you physically, and now it's also killing you with this disease. Take it a step even further. If the tick remains on the body, the disease remains in the body, locking down your psyche. If that remains and has not been revealed for what it is, then you can generate what is known as Lyme paralysis. In this Lyme paralysis, you are now alive, but you are completely paralyzed from this body, from this one little tick that just started to suck the blood from your body, installed this disease into your mind, and now has literally severed your experience as a whole and has paralyzed you as a whole. This is what I'm seeing as the soul connection. In the actual Lyme paralysis, it really just locks down your cerebral, your functioning part of your brain, which causes the paralysis. But what I'm referencing that to, your functioning part of this physical experience is your soul. If you have no soul in this body, there is no experience. So that is the functioning part of this physical reality. So this is how I'm saying what this parasite program does and how it locks down the experiencer and the experience as a whole. Not only through the experiencer. So the experience itself gets locked down by the experiencer. This is where you have people taking on the disease of capitalism, so-called democracy, America number one, Western civilization, and colonialism, and amplifying that disease onto other people through the military-industrial complex, conquering lands and destroying people, passing legislature to send people to war and all that other nonsense, stealing land, separating people, creating these psychological diseases that are pretty much the precursor to human paralysis. People who have been paralyzed by these programs, these Western civilization programs, these labels are paralyzing. People who have been paralyzed by this need to create another reality where they are either or both victimized and have to bring other people down. So you are playing both the bully and the victim. This is what this system is based upon. This is what a lot of people in the comment section do when they're talking about, well, you're a racist. Anytime that you talk about anything about race. Like, if you don't know the importance, if you haven't realized the utilization of the divide and conquer program of race, and then take it a step even further to energy, that's your problem. They ain't got shit to do with me. That's your problem. And all I can do is share how it exists. So if you leave comments in reference to like, oh, well, you're a racist and all that, that's, you can call me whatever you want. This is a schoolyard playground. Do whatever you want. But it really shows more about who and what you are and not so much about me. I've already put a whole bunch of videos on YouTube referencing where I come from. If you're truly interested on how I see what I'm coming from, you will look at the references that I've shared and the previous videos that I've spoken on that share a deeper perspective of what's going on. If you're just new to this, then you're only going to get whatever it is that you get. And I'm not concerned with that. So Basically, that's where the system wants people to remain. You get caught up in the checker game, and you never address the 3-tiered chess game that's going on, that's literally installing disease and paralyzing the experience as a whole on the soul, mind, and body level. So when people get caught up in the black and white checkerboard, then you're done. That's your world, and you will not be able to get out of that world until you challenge yourself to get out of that world. And it's nobody else's responsibility. It's nobody else's fault that you're in that world. It's you have to get out of that. You are the only one. This goes back to, you can't change anybody. Only people that can change anybody is themselves. And first of all, they have to want to change. So there's a whole bunch of sections that go on in reference to change. So that's basically what I wanted to share with this video in reference to what we've been kept from. The psychedelic technology is just a label. It's just a title for the human technology. The human experience as a whole is what we are being kept from. When you are locked into these shallow observations of reality, like the Western civilization is the best thing since sliced bread, Bernie Sanders is the best thing to happen to humanity, Alex Jones is a patriot, Donald Trump is going to save the world from the globalists. When you're locked into that, you're locked into a distraction program that is very limiting and is very much a part of an alchemical program system that separates you from the bigger picture. What I'm calling the bigger picture is the soul, the mind, and the body chess game as a whole. Heliocentrism is, one way they tell you that we live on a globe, but is it all only about just distracting you so they can get money? What's the intention of money? Then you go into energy, then you go into power, then you go into land. Well, where do the stories of energy, power, and land and conquering, where do they originate? And then you go into the colonial program and Western civilization. You go even further than that. You go into the alchemical separation from into the dividing and conquering, from beating down of the divine feminine and a misunderstanding of the divine masculine, and turning this entire program into a patriarchal system at the expense of destroying the divine feminine in your relation to nature. So this is what I'm saying when I address everything that I'm addressing in reference to the human storyline. When I bring up the conversation of races, that's just a subcategory to the human storyline. But since trolls and people who are just caught up in trying to make you look bad, they have to make their money off of labeling you, they focus only on what is emotionally triggering, what the emotional body is trying to trigger, and they focus on the race program. So that's basically what I wanted to share right there, is these layers of distraction, these layers of dominance and layers of control that are not limited to politics, that are not limited to the Hitler versus the Jews, that are not limited to Donald Trump and Alex Jones, TYT and Bernie Sanders, flat earth and flat earth going mainstream, and flat earth and versus NASA, and flat earth versus Neil deGrasse Tyson. All of this, everything I just mentioned, is still a subcategory to the human story, the relationship to nature, the relationship to land, the relationship to each other, the relationship to culture, the relationship to your non-physical reality, the soul, the mind, and the body program as a whole. That's the chess game that's being played. And the only way you'll be able to see that that's being played is if you understand the depths of the checker game that's being played internally, then see how it's being played externally. Then you get into interpreting the reality of our souls being locked down, our minds being locked down, and our bodies being locked down. And literally, entities who have locked themselves into this dimension make money off of our lack of tapping into that. They exist in the dark crevices of our reality that we don't look into. This is this disembodied energy that exists that people like David Icke has been talking about. And that's another example of, focus or locking your focus in. David Icke talks about, the reptilians. It's David Icke versus the reptilians. Like, we're not really looking at the design of the program as a whole. But to step even further into that, for example purposes in reference to, because I wanted to speak on that too before I close it out. These non-physical entities, like I said, they have made a choice to separate themselves from nature. They have made a choice to separate themselves from the soul essence. When you have made the choice, you are really talking about, and this is your free will. You have the free will option to make that choice. When you've made that choice, you literally limit yourself, because you're limiting yourself from the infinite experience that you exist as, which is your connection to the allness, all that is, like everything that is existing, and you have trapped yourself in one version of reality. And the only way that you can maintain some kind of experience is to hollow out and literally possess the beings who haven't made that decision with their free will to separate themselves. So it's literally hollowing out the energy of the individuals who are innocent, who are in a lack of and ignorant of their experience as a whole. So if an individual is not aware that they have a soul, that is not aware of their higher mind, that is not aware of their relationship to nature, chooses to do all of this nonsense in this reality and not tap into their reality based upon their level of consciousness, my question is, what happens with that energy that's just existing out there that the soul is vibrating as? What happens in the gap between the human as it's buying into the monkey evolution and the heliocentric program now, and the maximum potential of the human experience? What happens in that gap? Well, you have entities that make a profit off of that energy, physically and non-physically. And this is what I'm seeing as these people like David Icke talking about the reptilians and the holograms and all this other stuff. This is just another version of it, and you're just getting caught up in the storyline as it's delivered to you. So I'll make a video going further into the non-physical entities. I've already spoken on this in previous videos, so if you really want to go into it, I can't remember which videos. I might link it in the description if I find which videos go into this even further. But for this video, I want to close it out now because it's gone on long enough. I really just wanted to make the correlations between the boots on the ground experience that we are observing today with politics, the military industrial complex, and how that relates to you, the human experience from a soul perspective, the non-physical reality, and how all of these distractions are literally designed to create gaps in your reality and pretty much separate you from your maximum potential. And it's all based upon the vibration of your consciousness. Like I said earlier in the video, your focus is very important. Your time is extremely important to create the fiat currency system, to create the Western civilization and the technology as it's designed today. Then that's literally designed to separate you from the human technology, the psychedelic technology that you exist as. And I'll leave off on, for the third time of me saying that, I'll leave off on this. The transhumanism program is the formalized version of profiting off of your lack of understanding, of profiting off of the gaps in your reality. When you take on that robotic, biomechanical mentality, then you are literally separating yourself from the organic technology that you exist as, that the ancestors were actually tapping into. This is why the ancestors, the indigenous and the aboriginal people, are demonized, because they were literally tapping into the organic technology. And then this goes into the Atlantis storyline, and after that, about, you know, people taking this magic, this alchemy, and utilizing it for darker reasonings. And this is how I'm seeing the so-called fall of the human civilization, because we went from being in harmony with nature, with each other, with this experience as a whole, and then locking it into a profit-based system, making gods and kings out of individuals at the expense of everybody else not being aware of this information. And the expansion of that is stuff like technology as we see it today, locking away your time, locking away your consciousness into a cloud, into an illusion, into a limited interpretation, observation of your reality, which is what heliocentrism is and scientism is. Well, Bill Nye says that you need to be locked up because you don't follow the scientism religion, you don't play the game that as it's being presented to you. That's a problem. And that's the head, that's the peak of what I'm seeing is going on with this whole system. And to expand that, to double down on this distraction program, stuff like transhumanism is put out there as something great for you. Simulationism is basically the foundation to the new religion. So since atheists believe that there is no higher, most high, then, and the majority of people believe in some kind of most high essence, then they have to like turn it all into an electronic based system, which is simulationism. So simulationism basically, it's like Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that this is all just a simulation that's been created by some teenage kid who created this world, and we're just experiencers in this world. That literally separates you from your soul essence and just commercializes you into this computer software program that's locked into this hardware program we're calling the earth plane, or in their eyes the earth planet experience. And they're going to make their money off of people buying into that dream within a dream. So the monkey evolution program and heliocentrism, dinosaurs, the Big Bang, gravity, relativity, these are all dreams. And then when you amplify that dream to transhumanism, the CERN agenda, the simulation perspective of reality, then you're creating a dream within a dream, because that perspective of reality is based upon a dream in the first place. And then they can create anything. That simulationism creates the foundation for the definition of stuff like gravity. And then they can just say, oh, well, the creator of this reality just programmed gravity, and they programmed the laws of relativity, and they programmed the Van Allen belt, and they programmed the moon and the planets. And, you know, it's our job to create rockets that can shoot us into other planets and expand our consciousness to other planets and live on other planets. It's just another way to add credibility to the original dream. Just like you can see the American dream is a nightmare, but it's sold to you as a dream. And that's a dream within a dream. People who get caught up in the materialistic version of reality, and they say, oh, I'm successful because I have a nice car and a nice house and a beautiful wife and beautiful kids, and I have a bunch of money in my bank account. I made it as a human. I'm more successful as a human than you. That's a dream within a dream. Most of those people have no idea, no connection with their literal dreams and no connection with their soul or higher mind, and have limited themselves to the materialistic version of a very commercialized materialistic version of this reality. So that's pretty much where I'll leave it off. I'll go into this these transhumanism, simulation theory, profiteers in a upcoming video, because it's a whole bunch of stuff that is related to mainstream religions and heliocentrism and all this other stuff. And I just really wanted to share this perspective, where I'm coming from in relating to the bigger chapters of this program within the human storyline in relation to flat earth politics and all this other stuff that's out there talking about, this is how you should think, this is what you should be thinking about. And I had difficulty with seeing a lot of that stuff. Not like it bothers me, it's just something that I know it bothers other people subconsciously. And if I were to just share an observation of how I see it, then it will help people kind of release that density and see things from a different perspective. So that's what I do with pretty much all of my videos. That's my intention, is to help people see with a clearer perspective from what I interpret as clear. Obviously, it's not going to be like I don't have the answers for everything. I'm just sharing whatever it is that I see. So if you see that and hear that from a particular perspective, that's obvious. I mean, that's going to be. And if you feel the need to leave comments and label me whatever it is that you want to label me as, fine. Do whatever it is that makes you happy. Do what you do. That's going to be, that's how it's always going to be. And I'm okay with that. So, for the people who are picking up on what I'm talking about, I really do appreciate it. And people who do support this channel, I do appreciate that. Thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing these videos. Like I said in previous videos, I don't have Facebook or Twitter, so I don't really share any of this information. It's on those kind of social media circuits. It's really being shared by people who subscribe and watch the videos. So thank you. I really do appreciate that. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.